Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to talk to you because a student kind of brought up something that I hear all the time, and it just kind of dawned on me. You know what? Uh, Enough people have had this misconception. I should probably address it. Spin does not reverse off the rail. I don't know why that thought ever came up as to why people think this, but it does happen all the time. So let's just talk about this here really quickly. I'll give you a couple of examples as to um, where spin might seem like it comes reverses off the rail, but it doesn't. So, real quickly, let's talk about some terms. Running English is what happens when the cue ball is going in the direction that it wants to naturally go, right? So, if the cue ball is coming off of this ball, I'm going to pocket this one ball to the right, which means the cue ball is naturally going to go to the left. If it's naturally going to the left and I give it left hand spin, then that is running English. If it's opposite of what the cue ball wants to do, the cue ball wants to go to the left and I give it right hand spin, then that is reverse English. Okay? So just to be clear about that. We can also talk about inside and outside, but I'm not going to address that at this point. For right now, I just wanted to address that part. Now, let's talk about when does the cue ball reverse? Well, it doesn't reverse here. If I give this cue ball left hand spin, then off the rail, it turns left. If I give it right hand spin, off the rail, it turns right. So it still hasn't reversed. And if I was to come around multiple rails, it's the same thing. It's still left, left, left until it comes over here. That's when it reverses, but the spin didn't reverse. It's the direction of the table. So if I give this guy left, it's running, running, and here it reverses. Because here, running English, see how the cue ball's coming in and wants to go to the right, but it still has left spin? It's only reversed because it's hitting this rail here. If instead of hitting this rail, we hit this one instead, then when it hits that left-hand spin, it's still running the entire way. 4 rails is running, and if it hit that 5th rail, then it would be reversed. But it's all about the direction that the cue ball is going. So, here's an example of why people might think it reverses. If I'm trying to get that cue ball to go down table, in order to do that, I had to give it right hand spin. Well, it's going to the left for me. If it's going to the left for me, why isn't it left? Well, the reality is, it's not reversing. The table direction is reversing. If I was on this side, because remember, I'm drawing into the rail. If I'm on this side and I give it a right hand spin, that's not reverse at all. That's the direction I want it to go. I'm reversed because I'm hitting backwards. I'm here. If I gave this guy left hand spin on that same draw, well, it doesn't do exactly what we thought it was going to, right? So it's not reversing. So how can we use this to help us? Well, unfortunately, what happens is sometimes we land on the wrong side of the ball, don't we? So what a lot of people are going to try and do with this shot is try to give it low left. Let's see what happens with low left, right? I'm going to draw it into this rail. That'll be running. It's going to come over here running, running. And at best, we might come up on short side. Yeah, I don't really like that shot. I'd much rather be over here. The line that we came in, and actually that was better than what I had in mind. The line that we came in just kept running towards that 8 ball. Really, I expected us to be on the short side. Here's the way you really want to play this shot is with that reverse. It's not reverse once it hits that second rail. When we hit this first rail, that spin really can't grab. I need to make sure I have enough right hand spin so when it catches this second rail, it can run around the 3 rails. Ran out of steam. So we got 2 different types of angles. As you can see, this ball is running this way. I just didn't give it enough juice. When we have the spin on the cue ball, we've got two types of spins, right? We got vertical axis, which adjusts the deflection off of the object ball, as we learned in our tangent line lessons. We can make the cue ball go forward of the tangent line by hitting high, backwards of the tangent line by hitting low, things like that. We also have rotational energy on the horizontal axis when we're hitting lefts and rights. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm giving this guy the right amount of vertical adjustment to change where am I going to hit off this first rail. If I hit high, it's going to go forward to the tangent line. If it's stunning, it's going to follow tangent. If I give it draw, it's going to go lower. The second part of spin is the side spin, the right-hand spin that I'm giving this guy. The more side spin that this cue ball has, the faster it's going to roll around the table. So always remember that the line doesn't really change too much unless you're coming into that angle steep with side spin. I need a lot of side spin because off this first rail, it's kind of eating that, right? There's a bunch of friction because of that reverse spin. The cue ball wants to go to the left, but I'm giving it right. So it kind of slows the ball down there and eats up some of that spin. So I got to put a bigger stroke on this shot so that it's still spinning much faster when it gets to the second rail. So let's see if I can do a little bit better on the second time for you. This one's trucking a little bit better. So the only thing I did was imparted more side spin on that shot, and I think we'd all like that shape. As you can see, if you were to do the left-hand spin, more often than not, you're going to end up coming up on the short side of that. The correct way to shoot that shot, at least in my opinion, if I'm going to have a better chance of getting shape, is going to be using that running English off the second rail. So it's reverse off the first rail, but it doesn't really grab, doesn't really change anything. The only thing that first rail does is slow the ball down. So you got to put a little bit bigger of a stroke on there. I'm glad I made the error the first time. As always, I only do these things one take because that's real pool, right? As we're all learning, we're all trying to grow. You're going to make a bunch of mistakes. So if the pro can make the mistake, so can you. Learn from my mistake, and hopefully you'll put a bigger stroke on it as you're practicing. Also, use a bigger cue ball. Like we can see on the IQ here, it gives you a pretty decent little clock face that you can hit. Oh, these lines out here, when you're way down here, only the top part of your tip is actually touching that ball. So go lower than what you think. When you're at the center, that's the only time you're actually hitting with the center of the tip. So don't aim at the different spots on the cue ball using the center of the cue unless you're at the center of the cue. If you're way up here on the top, only the bottom part's touching. You're way over here on the right, only the left part of your tip is touching. So always go and find what your miscue limit is. And I promise you, as long as you're using good mechanics, it's probably a bigger cue ball than what you really think. 90% of miscues in my experience are caused by stroke errors, mechanical problems, elbow drops, tightening of your grip, things like that. So go further away from the center of the cue ball to get more rotation with less effort, because for one of those shots like what I just demonstrated there, you do need to put a pretty big stroke on it. But you'll have to go even bigger than that if you're not going near that miscue limit to really impart as much spin as you can. So hope this all catches you guys well. It is Christmas Eve here, December 23rd, 2022. And so that means you guys should be spending some time with your families instead of wasting time watching my videos. But if you get a little time to practice some stuff, hope this found you well. Hope all of you guys have a great holidays and have some fun with them. All right? Train better, do better, shop better at DragonBilliardsInstruction.com. Thanks as always for subscribing. I appreciate you all.